Hey, that's another story. Guys, re-entry into Japan is stressful. Re-entry into Japan is a whole journey on its own. Literally just pledging to stick to the principles or else you should be deported if you're a foreigner.
Hey.
Good morning, guys. This is like 5:30 a.m. today. I feel very. My emotions are just everywhere. I'm leaving finally to Japan. I'm lodged. See, I know how dreadful it can be to miss flights, and you know how busy Lagos can be. So I'm currently in Lagos because I live from Lagos, and I lodged in a hotel very close to the airport. So guys, I'm currently lodged in a hotel close to the airport because I can't take chances with Lagos traffic, and my flight is for 8 a.m. today. So it was initially for 9:40 and then they rescheduled it to 8 a.m. So I'm all set. My boxes are all set, school bag, everything. I'm actually very skeptical if my luggage will not exceed because it's quite a lot. Like Nigerian mothers. I mean, even saw my mom now. She like load. I said it in that video. I'm trying hard to smile, guys. It's difficult to say goodbye. I know goodbye doesn't mean I will never see them again, but it's been the most beautiful days of my life in Nigeria. It's been the most beautiful holiday ever. I couldn't have asked for a better summer vacation. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just me taking you back to Japan where you all know me from, and maybe I will add the quarantine. I don't know how it will go. See you guys in this video.
I wanna be a weekend lover. Yeah, I'ma be the best damn lover you got. I wanna mess up your covers. I don't wanna meet your mother. Never ever ask me how I've been. Remember why you have my number. I'm the best thing that has ever happened to you. Here's your time to shine. Now show me what you can do.
Guys, see what I came back to meet. Oh my god. So I left my key with Tabby. I mean, I needed her to do some things for me while I was away. And I came back to see this in my house. I've already even drank one of the Coke. That's how amazing this girl is. This is the biscuit. And this is another. Oh my god. It's the thoughtfulness for me, not just what is inside the box. Please guys, comment down in the comment section. Say thank you Tabby for me, because I don't know if words are enough. I'm so excited guys. This is such an amazing way to welcome me back to Japan. So hey guys, as you know, I'm back into Japan. I'm sorry I wasn't able to like vlog everything, all the entire procedure like I did when I was going back to Nigeria. Guys, it was a whole lot, both coming in from Japan. Like my flight was supposed to leave Nigeria at 8 a.m. but before we could leave was like 9:30. That was how chaotic boarding was. Even coming into Japan, hey, that's another story. Guys, re-entry into Japan is stressful. Re-entry into Japan is a whole journey on its own, and that's actually why I decided to just pop in here and say it, or like explain as briefly as I can. I don't know, maybe it could help someone that is coming into Japan, or even if you're not coming into Japan, you just want to know how it works. Maybe it's you, this could also serve, guys. And this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a foreigner, because I was thinking, okay, maybe it's just for foreigners. No, even the Japanese citizens, as long as you are an overseas entrant, that's what they call us, as you traveled abroad and you're entering into Japan, you will go through the same procedure, the same protocol. Like Nobody is even giving you a different. The only thing that demarcates one person from another person is actually the country you traveled to. So let's assume you traveled to a red zone country. Even if you're a citizen, you will be treated differently from me that traveled to a country that is not in the red zone, which is Nigeria. So that's just the major difference. Don't worry, I'll get into that as briefly as I can in this video. So guys, I noticed also that in the comment section of my very first video of going back to Japan, going back to Nigeria, someone asked me how the procedure was, going back to Nigeria. So I will just briefly touch that because that's not the purpose of this this part of this video. I'll briefly touch that and then go into the Japan one. Hey God, that one is a whole story. So if you're planning to go back into Nigeria, I don't know if it's the same thing for every country, but how it works for me from here in Japan is first you have to have a negative test result. Okay, the two major things that airlines will ask you of, because airlines have to work in line with what the country of destination wants. The two things you really need is your PCR test, your negative, of course, negative, your negative COVID PCR test. Yeah, PCR. Your negative, that one, nose and mouth now, swap. Your negative test result, COVID test result, and the QR code. So I'm going to briefly explain that. Now, I did my COVID test result. I think negative has to be 72 hours before boarding. So I remember doing my COVID test result on I think it was on a Wednesday. I got the result on a Thursday and I left Japan on a Friday. So it was actually 72 hours before I boarded, like before I boarded my flight. And then before you even reach the airport, see, let me not even jump. As soon as you get a negative test result, please, you have to go on, I think, NCDC, create a portal for yourself and then upload the negative test result. And then you have to pay 50,000 naira, which is actually used for your repeat COVID test result in the first place of your entry. That's in the first state you arrive. You have to do a repeat COVID test result exactly 7 days after your arrival. So I landed in Lagos, Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, which meant that my 7 days had to be in Lagos. Then I had to do a repeat COVID test result. So after you pay the 50,000 online, create the portal online, the next thing you have to do, you create they will generate a QR code for you. So that's the QR code that I said airlines are interested in, at the airline. So those are the two things you really need: negative test result and that QR code that you generate. And that QR code that you generate from the NCDC portal. I don't know if I really explained that well, but that's the most I know that was done or that is done. You generate the queue and then you show the airline. So you arrive in Nigeria. Now, I think you have the luxury of picking a hospital around the area where maybe you have someone or something, if you're on the island or in the mainland, whatever. So I picked a hospital, but Lagos now, no place is closed. No place is closed because of traffic. So I picked a hospital that was kind of around where I was hosted, and then on the 7th day I did the repeat COVID test result and it was negative. So when it's negative, you are now free to travel outside of that state you landed in. So however it works, that's just how it happens for Nigeria. So now let's talk about Japan. Hey, re-entry into Japan as whoever you are, citizen or whatever you traveled abroad. So this is there are 5 things. Let me be sure, guys. I have it here on my phone. 6 things actually. There are 6 things that you will need, and I'm just going to mention it and then briefly explain it. I don't want this video to be too long. In another whole video, guys, I'm going to be talking to you about my quarantine experience, or I'm going to be talking to you about quarantining in Japan, because that one is another thing that you cannot escape. 2 weeks quarantine, but I will not have to join it in this video so that this video is not so long. So guys, watch out for that video. Now, 6 things that you will need. Number 1 is, sorry guys, I'm actually also looking at my phone so I don't forget anything. Number 1 is, of course, you need your negative COVID test result, and it has to be also 72 hours before boarding the flight. So you have to, I did my COVID test result on a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, and I left Nigeria on a Saturday. Yes, on Saturday morning, so which was actually 72 hours before, that was more than 72 hours before boarding. Then the second thing you actually need is a written pledge. So this is it. I don't know, I think it's all airlines. So far you're coming into a country, most airlines already have, plans on how to obey the country of destination. So I think I was already even dozing off, guys. I was so exhausted. Like the boarding was chaotic, like everything was just chaotic in this trip. Not like the on the air. On the air was very peaceful, it was not chaotic. On the air was very peaceful, it wasn't chaotic. The it was a smooth ride, but I mean the boarding process and everything has just become more stressful with corona, with this whole COVID thing. So I remember I had just slightly dozed off, and when I opened my eye, I saw a pledge form beside me. So apparently the airlines are supposed to give you. I flew with Qatar, but I'm assuming that every airline has this pledge. So you have to fill the pledge. So the pledge form actually is you pledging that you are going to obey, pledging also that you're not going to use public transport, you're not going to so many things, literally just pledging to stick to the principles, or else you should be deported. If you're a foreigner or if you're a citizen, you should face the law. Like you sign it, you pledge it. Then there are also, I'm going to also touch about some things in the pledge as I proceed, because the pledge actually rubs off on the other things that you will need for you to have a very smooth entry into Japan. So guys, the third thing, of course, is Japanese phone number, because I think there's a part in the pledge where you have to write your phone number in case they have to contact you, if you had issues, or maybe if someone in the flight tested positive or something, you need a Japanese phone number. So luckily for me, it's actually re-entry. So I already had a Japanese phone number, which I just used. I think this video is actually more useful for re-entry. I'm not sure how it works for those who are entering for the very first time. I don't think it's the same. Yeah. Then the fourth thing you actually need is a smartphone. Yes, you need a smartphone, because the quarantine is actually linked. Now they are going to download some apps for you, which are tracking apps that is going to be used in your quarantine period. See, you cannot freestyle Japanese quarantine. You can't freestyle it. You have to be in quarantine. You're being tracked. Yeah, that's the way I can summarize it. So part of the things you're going to also sign in that pledge is that, because I read everything, I wanted to know what I was signing, is that if you do not have a smartphone, you're going to rent a phone at the airport. So they don't even want you to say you don't have a smartphone. You don't have to lie with that line or anything. So you have to have a smartphone with which they will download, I think, 2 or 3 apps. Those apps are actually linked to your location, your GPS. That's what they will use in tracking. One of the apps is my SOS, another one is literally linked to your location and all. I'm going to fully explain how the apps work and how they are used to track you during your quarantine period. Now, the next thing you actually need is actually a screenshot of a questionnaire QR code. Guys, this is something that I did not even know. I don't know how, for some weird reasons, I missed out on this one when I was preparing to come back. I actually read the website of Ministry of Tourism and I missed out on this. So I reached the airport in Nigeria when they asked, oh, destination is Japan, do you have this? And I'm like, I don't have it. And they are like, why don't you have it? So I had to pay extra at the airport, because luckily there are people at the airport that was able to fill the questionnaire and generate the QR code. I honestly did not think it was going to be necessary, but there was a point where it was asked for while I was trying to enter back into Japan. So yeah, you have to go through thoroughly the Embassy of Japan, like the Ministry of Tourism re-entry, go thoroughly through it, because I heard there was someone that had it. So that means I was the one that missed out on it, not like it was not there on the website. Then another thing you actually need, guys, is private transportation. Yes, one of the things you're also going to be signing on that pledge is that you're not going to use any form of public transportation if you're not quarantining in their facility. So here is how it works. Some people don't have a choice about where to quarantine. Now, like I previously said in this video, like I initially said in this video, depending on the country that you are coming in from, your procedure is different. So I had a friend, or I made an acquaintance on the flight, who was coming in from a red zone area. I think he was coming in from Nepal, and he said for Nepal he had to stay in their facility for 1 week before he's allowed to go and complete the quarantine in his house. So yeah, it's different. But Nigeria is not a red zone region as at the time I was entering back into Japan. So what I was required to do is you're supposed to write, okay, where is the place you want to quarantine? Of course, I wrote my house. I wanted to quarantine in my house. So now that location that you wrote, how are you going to get there without entering our public transport, just in case you have the virus? Now, this is also in addition to the fact that at the border you are going to do a COVID test result again. This is in addition to the negative test result you already showed the airline before boarding, and you will keep showing as you're actually trying to proceed. It's a lot, guys. I wish I can explain it. So I had to do, how the test worked at the border is saliva. You have to put in saliva. Sorry, this may be gross to some people, but I just had to explain this. You put in saliva 1 ml into a container and you give it to them. So at some point you have to wait for, like, I think an hour thereabout, and then they would come and tell you if you're negative or positive. So if you're negative, you proceed to the next stage. That's why I'm saying that there was a lot of protocol. There was a lot of protocol at the border. I wish I vlogged, but there were so many places where they had also put no camera, no video, and I just did not want to. I didn't even have strength to find any trouble. So yeah, this is also just note that you do another COVID test at the border. So before you get to that stage where you do the saliva test, which is for COVID still, you will still be showing the negative one you used to board the flight. But immediately you do the saliva test, what you now start showing is that negative test result of the saliva test. And that one, I didn't pay for it. The next thing you actually, so you need a private transportation. So contact people you have around Tokyo, contact people you have around that area, contact people you have around that area who will come and pick you up. So I had see, this is the beauty of community. Thank you to the people who were really instrumental for me coming into Japan. Like, thank you guys. So I had someone that stayed around Tokyo that drove me, to my city. So you have to communicate with friends, family, or if you have someone in Tokyo you want to quarantine with. As you know, I came in through Narita Airport, which is actually in Tokyo. So yeah, that's another thing you just have to know. The last thing is a Japanese address, which I have briefly touched indirectly, because if you're not meant to stay in the facility and you're actually not going to stay in a hotel, my lab member that came in last year, she stayed in a hotel. So she did not come in from a red zone area, but she did not know how she would get down to our city via private transportation without entering public transportation and breaking any rules. So she just opted for staying in the hotel for 2 weeks. But I couldn't, because man, it's going to be very expensive to stay in a place that is really not your home, feeding yourself and all that. So whichever way it works. So I'm just going to give a very brief rundown of everything that I said. The major things that I needed to leave Nigeria to come into Japan was my negative test result. Of course, I had to show my visa. My Japanese visa. I also had to show my residence card, which I showed multiple times. I did not even know that was very useful. I showed my residence card, and then that QR code, that's questionnaire QR code from the Ministry of Tourism, I think. That's what I actually needed to at least, board the flight, right? Now, upon boarding the flight, like I said, they give you a pledge that make sure that you obey everything, that you must download the app, you don't use public transportation, you will do the COVID test result, you comply to everything you're being told at the border, It's quite a lot. Try and read it if you can, and then you sign, you put number. If someone is speaking, you have to write how you're getting to your destination without public transportation if you're not staying in a hotel in Tokyo. Then when you arrive into Japan, it's protocol upon protocol. So we are divided. Like, I came in with a lot of people, acquaintance, but depending on the region you come in from, if you came in from a red zone area, you sit differently. If you came in from a region that is not red zone, you sit different, whether you're a citizen or not. The important thing is, did you come in from a red zone area or not? So for those of us that came in from areas that were not red zone area, our process, I think, was faster. We sat differently. They gave us some forms to fill. We filled those forms. And then the next thing we proceeded to do was showing our negative test results, showing our visa, showing residence card, I think. And then somehow there was another stage where you have to test for the COVID again, which is pouring your saliva, showing that QR code. There was also another point where you had to wait. There was a hall, very big hall, so we were properly spaced, where we actually all had to sit down and wait for the COVID test result. So if you're positive, if you're negative, you proceed to the next stage. And the next stage was actually them being sure that you are downloading the apps, them being sure that you're downloading the apps. So they will be there, download the apps for you, show you how to use it, briefly explain what is expected of you via the apps, and for the whole 2 weeks. So after they are sure the apps have been downloaded, you proceed to another one where they confirm the apps are working. You proceed to another one where you confirm your email is working. You proceed to another one where they make sure your phone number is a lot. And then you finally get to immigration, yeah, and customs, I think, where you show the negative test result of the saliva test. And then they have to also do check that you actually have a valid visa, a valid residence card, check your passport, when did you leave Japan, and stamp all those things. And then the next stage again is like customs. They have to be sure you do not bring in any contraband. Japan is very strict on diary, not diary, they're very strict on meat. You're not bringing meat, you're not bringing of course hard drugs, you're not bringing some sort of vegetables that they like. I think they will announce those things even on the airline, and even in those forms you sign, you are going to know those things. Yeah, as you can see guys, I was talking fast because it's quite a lot, and I hope I was able to touch most of the process. It's Re-entering to Japan is actually a lot, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. This was one trip that I really, really, really looked forward to and I enjoyed. Alright, guys, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful to someone who is planning to come back into Japan or who is planning to travel out. Just know what you're going to come back and meet. Hopefully, if you're not going to a red zone area. For those going into red zone areas, I think after you stay in the plus your negative test results you used to board, after you now stay in the after you stay in their facility for 1 week, you can now go. Guys, the summary of it is that this is everything I can remember. I'm not even sure I exhausted all the options, but this is actually everything I can remember. This is in addition to an almost, I think, 20 hours flight plus almost 10 hours layover I had. Like, do you understand? Plus the fact that Tokyo is not my final destination. I still have to get back to my city. Guys, yeah, it's quite a lot, but there was no way to have it. Traveling during this corona period, you just have to be prepared for the stress and prepared for the expenses, and just know if it's worth it. Whatever you're going back for, just know if it's worth it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all the love you have showed me on my Nigerian vlog series. I really appreciate the love, the comments, my family, and just me generally. Now let's begin quarantine. See you guys next time on Chilotalks. Bye for now, guys.